Namaste. Hello there, beautiful souls. Welcome. Welcome to my channel. My name is Sadhana. I am an intuitive reader and healer. And today I'm on at a special time. I am not doing live readings today. Today I'm here carrying on with a series that I started a while back, the Lenormand series. And today I've decided to make this broadcast public. I think this is a really important topic. And whether you are reading with tarot or Lenormand or Kipper or another divination system, I feel that it's really important. The art of asking good questions is really key to learning to read the cards and to become a good reader. Now, whether you are reading professionally or you're reading for your friends and family or you're just reading for yourself, this is really important. And also, I want to say this, and I should have made a little banner. So, for those of you that are hoping for a live reading today, my intention is that you too will stick around. You will stick around because I think you will learn something about asking good questions, even if you are hopping onto somebody's channel and you're wanting a live reading, so that the question that you pop into the chat is going to get the kind of answer, the intention today. Hello, Donna. Welcome. And Heather, Tamian, lovely to have you here. I am broadcasting also, I want to let you know, in two different places. I am in the Facebook group, my Facebook group, Sadhana's Integrative Healing Room, as well as live on YouTube. So from time to time, there may be comments that I highlight that you don't see in the chat. So that's the case. Everybody so far is coming on from YouTube. Hello to Irene, Lydiane. Welcome to everybody. Okay, so I want to dive right into this, and I have created some questions that I would like to work with and just have some discussion about this. And you can, we all kind of, I don't say, as readers, we inwardly chuckle when we hear this question. It is such a common question. Hi, Shanti, and welcome to, okay, I'm going to roll this off. Katsi, no, I'm going to say this. I'm going to figure this out. Sanoron, Katsitsanoron. Oh, wow, that's a tricky one. Celeste Beauchamp, welcome. Thank you for being here. I love language. Okay, so with affection, we might inwardly smile at this question because there is, Vanya's here as well too. Hello to Vanya. There's so much more that you can ask. Oh, I have got help here with the pronunciation, I see. Okay, so I will do this just because I know you are Native American. It's Mohawk. And Celeste is my English name. Okay, so thank you. So it's Good Z Za Nor Do. Oh my goodness. Thank you. But I will just call you Celeste. And if I have time later, I will work on that name. Okay. I truly do love language, and it's really beautiful. So thank you. And let us know what it means as well too. You didn't tell us what that means. Okay, good questions. We want to get underneath this. And those of you that watch me live on Tuesdays, I do my best to challenge you a little bit, to get you to go deeper, get more real, get more honest with yourself. It's hard. It's hard to get real. It's hard to get honest. And so here's another one. Why have I not met my soulmate? There's a couple of problems with this particular question, and that it is formed in the negative. And one of the things I always recommend is that the question be formed in the positive. Because especially when we're working with Lenormand, we want to be able to use the the positive and the negative cards, the neutral, positive, and negative cards, and read those as yeses and nos. And so if we end up working with a double negative, we have all kinds of issues that arise. So it's best to formulate the questions in the affirmative. You could ask questions such as, am I ready for a relationship? Now, granted, this is not an open-ended question, but if you want to pull a 2 or 3 card and ask this kind of question, and we're going to do this in a second, this is more kind of apropos rather than saying, what's coming next for me in love assumes that you're actually ready for love. That you've done the work and so forth, right? It's kind of egotistical, right? As opposed to getting a little more humble and saying, am I ready for a relationship? Or would a relationship be in my highest at this time? Now, that's a very kind of tarot question because it's a little more, I think it's spiritually based. And with Lenormand, we're looking for kind of more matter of fact kind of answers. All right, so let's go to this one. What about how can I be more honest with myself about maybe there's been a pattern Maybe there's been a pattern that has been the destruction of past relationships. So you can ask the Lenormand, how can I be more honest with myself about my drinking and how it has destroyed my relationships? How I can be more honest with my narcissistic tendencies? Or how can I shift that? There's a reason why you're not in a relationship. And so being more honest with yourself. And I know some of these questions are going to piss off a lot of people, so I apologize for that, but I really want to help you with these kinds of questions. Another level that is very difficult, and I often use the analogy of the cup, right? The glass. So let me, right? So my glass is more than half full, but right, the glass half full, half empty kind of metaphor. There's two things here. So one is I'm going in two completely different directions here. Sorry, I had two trains of thought come in exactly at the same time. So focusing on the cup half full rather than the cup half empty would be to bring in gratitude towards what I already have and what I can grow, and what I can nourish so that a relationship will move towards me. When we focus on the cup half empty, we focus on, well, what's everybody else doing? What's wrong with the world? I'm owed a relationship, that sort of thing. Right? So it's a very different kind of mood. Hello to Erica, Merlin's daughter. Hello, welcome. And the other thing I wanted to say was that what do I need to release in order to be ready is often there are things that we are holding onto, past relationships, resentment towards another, a mother, a father, a pattern of relationships that's been going on in your life. So often the key is this kind of a question. What is preventing me from meeting them would identify the block. So we're looking at the obstacle that the querent must face. Okay, so this is a very specific question. Or how about this one? What is preventing me from finding a significant other? Right? Different question. This might be very practical. You might be, and I have to tell you, right? So a lot of the time, people are They're in different countries, they're in different places, and they're wondering why they haven't got together. Well, there's COVID, there's passports, there's the ramifications of working in foreign countries, right? There's so many things. So I really want to encourage you to get very real about this question, because there's so much more that we can ask. Okay, so what I thought I would do is just do some 3 cards to look at these questions. All right, and so I want to show you what kind of an answer um, Lenormand might present in this case. Okay, and we're going to do a work example today. So I have a work question prepared to tackle, and yeah, a few other things. So this is just one of 3 things we're gonna tackle here, and we may go past the hour. I want to give this good attention. So this is the deck that I'm working with today. For those of you that don't read Lenormand, there is a series on my channel. It is for members, and the reason it is for members is so that the chat remains troll-free. Okay, so that we have ease and openness in conversation, and it's just a better way for me to connect. So that's why it's private. Okay. Am I ready for a relationship? And please remember that we are just doing random readings. This is not for anyone in general. I'm not addressing myself. I am in a relationship. But we're going to look at what these different kinds of approaches to the same question. Thanks, Megan. What these different kind of approaches to the same, basically the same question, what the answers might heed. Okay. Ooh, nice sticky reading. All right. So we have moon. So I'm going to build these bit by bit, and then we'll go forward. Okay. So there is definitely some emotional undercurrent is one possible direction. Hearts are a positive card. This also can refer to work. Okay, so there's at least three different directions that I might be going with this reading. And then the mice show up. So we have a relatively positive card followed by a club, which is a negative card. Clubs are negative. For the most part, you're not going to have good news with a club card. So something is gnawing away at work. Am I ready for a relationship? Perhaps what is gnawing away is being out in the moonlight, out in the limelight. The moon card in Lenormand refers to being out in the limelight. All right, so something is eating away at you, being out in public. Now, granted, this is not the garden card. And then I'm looking at the coffin. The coffin is a box. It is closed. It is closed off. Okay, so I'm going to say this is a no. Am I ready for a relationship? No. Okay, you are in a box. Something is eating away at you. Okay, so that's kind of step one. So from there, where do I want to? Oh, I've got other good questions here too. Let's go to this one. Okay, so I'm going to put these cards back in the deck. And you see, my motivation for this is I feel a lot of the time I don't get the whole story with whether I'm working on Zoom, whether I'm working public space. And so a lot of the time I spend energy pulling teeth. And I don't want you to, what do I want to say? Like, it's not fun pulling teeth. So don't pull your own teeth. You know that expression, right? You're just like, be honest with yourself. Okay. So the original question that has come up is, what's coming next for me in love? So I want to challenge the querent and I want to say, okay, well, perhaps there's something you need to release. And what I do as a reader is I really like to work with my clients and help them through this. Now, sometimes some people do get, I was going to do these one at a time, but you've already seen them. Sometimes people do get really pissed off because they just want a yes or no answer and they want me to tell them or fix them. And then if that happens, then I just remind people that that's not how I work. Okay, so what do I need to release in order to be ready? Hmm. Now, if the birds followed the tower, I would say that now I don't know. I remember I don't know the situation of the person. But let's read it as it is. So some kind of anxiety is present. So this was the first card. So I kind of want to just kind of lean into this energy and think of what all the possibilities are. I need to release anxiety. Perhaps I need to release my tendency to gossip. Gossiping is toxic. It is lethal. It destroys relationships. What do I need to release? Toxic communication, right? Gossiping. Um, how about perhaps I need to release my tendency to be on Twitter all the time. Okay, now this Tower card. So we have two positive cards, right? Both of these are positive suits. I am wondering with these two cards together, because the Tower has a lot of connotations as well, and all of, thank you, Patrice, all of the cards in Lenormand, we need to read in context. What do I need to release in order to be ready? I need to release the sense of isolation. I almost feel as if this toxic gossip, the connection with Twitter, this anxiety is connected to the isolation, and perhaps the isolation, this is a result of this. So in Lenormand, sometimes it's hard to bring up sentences to make up full sentences. And when I in between these two cards, you can use the French pronoun de or English of, right? So anxiety of isolation, possible interpretation. I need to release anxiety of isolation in order to be ready. Well, what does that mean? Whoa. Okay. Did you realize you were anxious of isolation? Let's talk about this a little bit. What does this mean to you? One word, Lydiane, one word. But because this is Lenormand and we sometimes forget that the order of the grammar. Wow, now isn't this profound? And I love it. Even in these arbitrary readings, we have this direct comparison here. We have two spades cards. These are very positive. This feels optimistic. It feels to me like the potential for love is there. You are creating anxiety through self-isolation. And perhaps the answer lies in just getting out. Maybe you are honestly extremely nervous about stepping out into the garden, stepping out into public. But the red, these particular suits are telling me that you can. You can do this. It is possible. Okay. All right. So now let's go on to the next part. Now here is another rule, and I want you to type this into the chat. One question, one spread. Okay, don't try to answer multiple questions in one spread. Right? It's not the same question. Unless you are doing a grand tableau, you have to do another spread, and you can do this slowly, building two card, two card, two card. No problem. And we can perhaps try that with the next ones. All right. So what is preventing me from meeting them? Okay. Maybe somebody can type into the chat as well too what we already know about this person, because we've answered 2 questions so far. Okay. Aha. Well, it's a positive card. Secrets. Secrets. Are there secrets that are preventing you from meeting someone, your true love? Is there information? Is there research? That doesn't really make sense. Let's answer the question. So I'm going to say that there's something that's hidden that is preventing you from meeting them. Whoa, this is very interesting. Okay. First thing that came to my mind was that, you know how sometimes in a relationship, people aren't completely honest with you because they're a little bit nervous. They want to appear, they're not really good at it, right? They want to appear better than they are, or they want to please you. Okay. Or maybe this is you, right? And remember, relationships are a mirror. The reading with cards is a mirror. So I feel that there's a sense of abruptly cutting off. There's abruptly cutting off. So what I was, and I need to trust my intuition from what was coming back a couple minutes ago, and that was, if somebody tells you a little white lie and you realize it's a little white lie, that's it. You put the end to the relationship. You get really judgy. Does that make sense? So like, it's like you realize it's a secret and you take that scythe and you just like forget it. You're done. Next, that sort of thing. So you have a tendency to pick up that tool. I'm not picking up on a shy person. Interesting thought. I'll see what comes up in the third. So um, what's preventing me from meeting them? So the end of hidden stuff, right? So the end of, you want to put a drastic end to anything that is subcurrent, anything that is hidden, ulterior motives, and so forth. So what this tells me is you've probably been in narcissistic relationship. You've probably had experience with parents who've kept things from you. All right. So not being so reactive in regards to this, because as I said earlier, some people skew to protection. Does that make sense? Some people skew to protection, and that may come out as a little white lie. Okay. And then the third card is also a positive card. So this querent is pulling very positive cards. We've had one right? And that was the mouse, the mice. The mice were eating away at, what were they eating away at? The moon. Okay. So here we have another card of, okay, so these two cards, let's look at these two cards here. Moving away from abrupt behavior. Cutting off travel. Oh, I wonder if you have a tendency to, if there's something about foreigners. So, whatever color your skin is, maybe there is something to do with people of another color or another race or another culture. Perhaps there is something in your, some undercurrent in your family. Okay, so the question is, what is preventing me from meeting them? Yeah, I'm going to say a tendency to cut off people a little bit too early and not give them the full benefit of the doubt. And there may also be a discomfort with others who appear foreign. And I want to put foreign in quotation marks. Okay. I'm going to go to some of your comments here. So Lydianne suggested that just the book might represent a shy person, a bookish person, a reserved person. I would need other cards to pull that out, and I might want to see a court card around that, a queen or a king around that, especially if there was the significator card around it, the man or the lady. Then I would go there, right? You could pull out a researcher, a librarian, somebody who tends to be more introverted and so forth. Avoidant attachment style. I know that Lenormand isn't psychological, but that's what I see. Okay. So this is another reason why I like to do these live, is because we get different perspectives from people. Some people who have been reading, I'm just smiling and reading Patrice's comment again. We get insightful perspectives from others who may have been reading for a short period of time, or who bring to the table lots of other insight, right, from other disciplines as well too. Okay, so I need to take that off. All right, so we've learned something that needs to be released. Something that's preventing you from meeting them. And so, of course, we could do this in one session, but this is a lot of information. And we had, I'm going to go back to Mira's comment, fear of being alone. This echoes one of the previous readings where we had that sense of isolation as well too. Okay, so I'm sure Mira's comment was referring to a previous set of cards, but almost in this 3-card reading, if had we done a 9-card, I'm almost feeling confirmation of this fear of being alone, this fear of isolation. And perhaps there is some shame Perhaps there is some shame in, um, perhaps there is some shame that needs to be dealt with before we ask this question. Okay, so pulling apart these questions can give us so much more information. Now, why don't we end with something positive for this scenario? Because I think that when we're doing a reading for someone, if we're asking them to go deep, deep, this kind of more uplifting question can be really helpful. Okay, so what is my best asset? And I don't like that word should, so let's cross off should. What is my best asset? What is my best asset that I would benefit from embracing? What is my best asset that I would benefit from embracing? Okay, shoulds have no place in tarot and Lenormand questions. Okay, what is my best asset that I would benefit from embracing? Do you know this card also, and another positive card? So, dear querent, you've had lots of positive cards here. And each of these mini readings has given you some deeper insight into the steps towards this. Okay. So I want you to remember that the number of positive cards that you have had. You've only had one club so far. This card refers to herbs, plants, vegetables. I'm wondering if there is, remember that Lenormand can get very, very real. I'm wondering if you have a gift of gardening, or maybe you make teas for people. I wonder if this is a way for you to meet people, to connect with people. I mean, my mind is going all kinds of places. Maybe this is about you taking your teas or your seed starts to market, something like that, you know? So that's one possibility. Okay, there's definitely an outdoors energy with this card as well, too. It also means a little bit of something, a little bit of, we'll see what the next card is. It's a fortunate card. Perhaps this refers to your positivity as well, too. Another positive card. In the reading where we had the book and the scythe and the ship, when I look back and I think of that and I see these two cards together, I wonder if you are a little bit heavy, my friend. You take things a little bit too seriously. And this clover here is definitely lightening up your ancestry. It is lightening up your connection to your family, to your lineage, perhaps to any shame that you have around your family. Okay, and of course we can go to health as well too. You are genuinely a positive person. So both of these cards are plants, right? We have clover and tree. So what I was going on in the first card might very well be true. There's lots of ways to connect with people, to gain confidence and so forth by being outdoors. The third card is also outdoors. Okay, so this is a super positive, sunny reading, quite literally. Perhaps this is something that you don't share with other people, your outdoorsiness, because we learned from the other parts of the reading that you're quite an introvert. You have a fear of isolation. Perhaps you have kept yourself indoors because of the fear of the secrets and so forth. But you also have a gift. You have a green thumb, perhaps. You have a love of nature. And so, if you were to embrace this in small doses, then eventually, you know, maybe this is where you will meet your next love. Okay, so are you getting my process here? Step by step, right? Step by step, we want to make this garden grow, quite literally. Step by step, we want to embrace, step by step, we want to deepen our awareness into the question. Okay, so I really appreciate all your responses in the chat. So where I'm going to go from here is I want to talk about this approach. Okay, so what would be the outcome if? What would be the outcome if? So here's a scenario for you. You are considering going back to school, training for something, and you're an adult. I don't know what your situation is. We'll just kind of go on the fly with this. And this is a really difficult sort of scenario. People tend to ask questions like, should I quit my job? There's all kinds of things, but I think there's a couple of ways that we can approach this. And if we break this down, Lenormand can help us with short, specific questions. So with Lenormand, we want to be specific. We want to have one spread for each question. And we'll get to the third thing in a little bit. So this is future based. Oh, I guess we can talk about the third thing now, because we're talking about the future. So the way that we want to word the answers to these questions is in the future tense. If you ask a future question, answer in the future tense. Stick to the timeline that you have asked. If the cards come up showing something about your fear of indoor spaces, that's not what you asked. You didn't ask about a tendency or something in the past. So we need to deal with it in the future. So part one here is, what would be the outcome if I took the course online? Ooh, positive, sunny. You would be energized. Assuming that you want to move away from your current job situation or something like that, right? You would feel energized. You would feel happy. You would feel joyful. But when I see the sun, I feel energized. So it feels a whole lot lighter and a whole lot happier. Oh, so then we pull the coffin. And we'll see what the third card is, but this is not a great card to show up here, because the coffin is going to bring an end to the energy, right? It's the death of the energy. It's the death of the vitality. So perhaps taking the course online is not the best course of events. What would be the outcome if I took the course online? Funny that the stars show up because the stars is the card that connects us to the internet. So, what I am picking up here, even though these are all red cards, this is probably something that you do very well. And I'm assuming you do this at work a lot. If you took the course online, you're just going to end up being more closed off, more drained, and you're going to be on the internet all the time. Is this what you want? Okay. So now we're going to ask the next question. What would the outcome be if I commuted to school? Okay, so commuted to school, it means you are going to drive, bus, ferry, train, whatever you need to do to get there. And we all know what commuting feels like. However, maybe that's just what you need. You need that breath of fresh air to get away. Sometimes commuting actually is kind of exhilarating, depending on how many days a week you commute. But we asked, what would the outcome be if I commuted to school? The original question was had to do with going to do further training, to go to school. Okay, so here we go. Moon. Ooh, this is a good card. This is a career card. This shines. It could shine fame. It might bring a deeper emotional connection as well too. This is a great card to show up here. It makes me feel like this is your line of work, and you isn't that funny? Look at the path in the moon card as well too. Not a great card to show up here. It's going to feel arduous, right? It's going to be a long commute. Now, whether that is mental because of the time of day or the number of days that you have to go, but what the snake can refer to a meandering path. It can refer to winding roads. So commuting to school, can make the process. Commuting to school can shine light on the process of that it's gonna take longer than you would want. Okay. Ooh, I hope the snake doesn't eat the bird. Okay, so we do have two queens here, and I can't ignore the fact that we have two queens. It would be interesting to know if the querent was feminine, because these are two very powerful ladies, two very powerful leading ladies. I want to say whose personalities probably not the best of friends, but these are two great qualities to have in somebody who is wanting to rebuild their life. Okay, so I definitely want to focus on that energy, because this moon card is shining light on a career. And then we have two leading ladies here that tell me you might very well be able to endure this. The stork refers to going with the flow. It refers to changes. Now, your flow might not be an even kilter. It might not be a wheel. It might take some twists and turns. But you will eventually get to where you want to go and have the strength to get to where you want to go. Okay. All right, so next step. Now, I just chose Vancouver because it's the closest major city where a lot of the institutions are near where I live, but you can change that. So another option, of course, would be to pick up and move, right? So let's try that. What would the outcome be if I moved to Vancouver for school? Now, the beautiful thing about Lenormand is, actually, I'll do a tarot example after this just to show you how I might approach this in tarot, because the way I approach this in Lenormand and tarot is quite different. What would be the outcome if I moved to Vancouver? So that means there's no commuting involved. There's no online course involved, or very little, maybe handing in assignments online, right? All right. Did we have the clover? Can't remember. Okay. No, it wasn't. It was in the love reading. All right. So luck, good fortune, just enough good fortune to get you through. I want to say this card would symbolize that if you had financial worry, that um, it wouldn't necessarily be there. We have the ship. So it's funny because where I live, you have to take a ferry to get to Vancouver. So that's kind of hilarious. The ship would symbolize crossing the water. And while it's not a particularly long journey, by the time you add up waiting on either side and so forth, it is. So a fortunate crossing, a fortunate crossing. This feels like that moving would indeed would be positive. And then here we are connected to the stars. Now, do you remember in the first set of cards, I was focused on the fact the stars was connected to the internet. And that's because I was answering the question and weaving together the cards. But the stars also talks about your guiding light, kind of your destiny. And underneath all of this, there might be something greater far beyond this reading. But in general, the outcome of moving to Vancouver would shine light, would guide you in a positive direction. And I want to say there's going to be ease. There's going to be ease in this transition. Okay. All right. So how are you doing? How are you doing? Oh, I said I was going to do that with tarot. So I'm going to do that with tarot before we go on to the next one. Okay. So let me choose a tarot deck. I cleaned up my table. Why don't we get this one? We use this light seers. It's very colorful and emotional. What would the outcome be if I moved to Vancouver for school? I don't have a tendency to do multiple card readings, multiple readings with tarot. It feels like more of a Lenormand practice to me, and it's certainly something that you could do. And we've had 3 different options here. We've had an A, we've had a B, and we've had a C. Right? Sorry, I did those really quickly. And so what I might do with the tarot, this is kind of what I tend to do, is to reflect on the 3 options and lay a card down for option A, option B, option C. And then I have more information if I need it around option A, option B, option C. I'm not going to do this full reading, but this tends to be my approach with tarot. Could you do this with Lenormand? I never have. I never have. It's just not a not a style that I do. So I don't know what about the rest of you, but I really like the getting to the meat, getting to the nitty-gritty of the cards with Lenormand. And I don't know how that feels to you. So with the Lenormand, our best response was C. So just out of curiosity, I'm going to look and see what they are. We have 9 of Pentacles, 6 of Pentacles, lots of Pentacles, and 2 of Cups. And the question here was about moving, Knight of Wands and 4 of Swords. Anyway, so I take a different approach. I'm just really curious about what's all here. So this was the internet one, Judgment, and 8 of Pentacles. Kind of an introverted energy. This was commuting. So the commuting one has 5 of Wands and Strength. Underneath 6 of Pentacles. So yeah, so this is the approach that I would take if I were doing it with the tarot. And I have to say that when a querent is looking for step-by-step, a step-by-step process, I find Lenormand is really useful in this regard. It's great because it's a little more straightforward. Okay. So the last question I want to work with today as an example is, how can I resolve this issue? How can I resolve this issue? So suppose I'm working with you and we are sitting down having a conversation. Well, I want to know how far you're willing to go. Right? There's a lot that is hiding underneath this question. A lot. What are you willing to give up? And I will put an example with this. Okay. So suppose this is a work issue. Suppose this is a work issue with the boss. And you just aren't getting recognized for the great things that you do. Financially, you haven't got your own office yet. Well, I kind of want to go back to what we were doing earlier, and that is there's a lot of other questions that are here, right? So are you willing to leave the job? Are you willing to relocate? Are you willing to sit down with your boss and talk honestly? Are you willing to do some research and find out if this is a tendency with other employees? You know, there's a lot of stuff here. So when you ask me, the reader, how can I resolve this issue? I can help you answer this question, but I need to know how far you're willing to go. And if you're able to articulate that to me, then we can do something like we did in the previous question about relocation. What would the outcome be if I applied for a job, da 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 da, right? So I don't know. I want to encourage you to take apart your questions a little bit more carefully. Now, I've got some other notes I just want to refer to before I sign off. So just give me 1 second here. Just a few thoughts and random things I typed out this morning. So the clearer you are, the clearer the cards are going to be. And I believe this applies both for tarot as well as Lenormand or Kipper or anything. And part of my process here is if I'm feeling all worked up and emotional, or I can feel anger, frustration in the querent, then it's just not a good day to do a reading, because that anger and frustration is going to be reflected in the cards. There's no space. We need to create space for a little bit of distance and insight. Greater insight will come if we can create discernment and space and not be emotionally invested in what the cards are saying. Of course, there is emotion involved, but come to it on a day when you're a little bit less emotional. Detached is another way people describe this, right? So sometimes that's why we go to another person, because another person can be less attached to the outcome of the reading. And maybe that's why the querent doesn't reveal as much information. But I think that there's a misunderstanding that the more you tell the reader, that's hard for me to express, but yeah, it's great if you can give more information, because the clearer the question, the clearer the cards will respond. That I want you to think about the eagle, right? So the metaphor of the eagle, the great winged birds, right? The distance at which they fly, right? They create space. They are the great teachers, the overseers. And so that's what we need to do when we're doing a reading, is to create that space. Breath. Take a breath. Come back to it in an hour. So all that's really, really important. Anything else I want to share with you at this moment? I mean, this is a great topic. We can do lots of examples. Clearly, pay close attention to what you're asking. Okay, are you asking what you really want to ask? Ask yourself, is this what I really want to ask? You know, that question I highlighted earlier. You know, what if you did this and the cards told you you were a jerk? You're a narcissist, right? You don't, or maybe they tell you something that you don't want to hear. So be careful what you ask, right? If you want to find what's coming next for you in love, understand that we need to look at the big picture here. And I want to help you, right? Readers want to help you. So dissecting these questions is really, really important. Yeah. Generally open-ended questions, of course, too, are going to get us more information than closed-ended questions. But the Lenormand does work very well for yes/no questions. And you can work with two things there, which we did talk about in an earlier class. And one is the absence of clubs, for sure, more red cards, and then memorizing each of the Lenormand cards has a positive, a neutral, or a negative effect or mood on a reading. So all of that is a way to work with yes no questions as well too. Yeah. So I think I'll leave that for today. So thank you all for being here, and I want to thank all of you for your words of encouragement. I've had a kind of kick, yeah, kind of not been feeling great the last over 24 hours. And so where do I want to, so next week we are going to look at mobile houses. Mobile houses. And so next week you need to have 2 Lenormand decks. If you do not have 2 Lenormand decks, then what you can do is create, just out of sticky notes or something, your second Lenormand deck. I also you can also order blank playing cards, pretty cheap. So that's another option as well too. You could also make them just out of little pieces of paper, right? So you need 2 decks next week, and mobile houses is the topic. So yeah, so thank you. Thank you very much. And Donna, thank you for posting some of the thoughts in summary. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Okay. So namaste to everybody, and I'll see some of you in class tonight. Take good care. Bye for now.